Hi, I'm here with Matt from Columnar, Backstage at PyData Paris 2025. And Matt, you are someone from the Arrow ecosystem, I would
Yep.
say.
I'm
Probably a contributor,
I'm a PMC member,
PMC member.
Project Management Committee. I'm a member of the PMC, contributor, committer. I do a lot of work on the Golang implementation, but I've also worked a lot on the PyArrow and C++, and just in the ecosystem in general. In that way, I also wrote the book on Apache Arrow, in memory analytics with Apache Arrow.
Nice. Yeah, I think, Matt, we talked earlier about it, that it's almost Apache Arrow regathering, reunion here, because I think lots of contributors are here at the conference, and is it the first time that there is an actual Arrow Summit?
Yeah. The Arrow Summit tomorrow would be the first official big Arrow Summit that we're doing.
Cool. Do you know how what's will be going on there?
So we've got a bunch of talks lined up. I was on the selection committee. I was one of the people on the selection committee of selecting talks. People submitted 20 something that we got talks for people to give presentations there, and we picked 8 or 9 depending on the time we had. So far, according to Meetup, we've got 50 something people signed up. So you figure maybe 2/3 might actually show up, but no. So we got a series of talks talking about Arrow itself, the ecosystem, a couple of use cases, a couple company use case things, and just one of the first talks we're doing is a member of the ecosystem who's actually currently the chair of the PMC, Neil, who will be giving a talk just Arrow 10-year anniversary. Where are we now? Because as of the beginning of next year, Arrow will have existed for 10 years.
That's quite interesting, actually, because Arrow is a backend technology, I would say, that is often behind the scenes.
Yeah,
with an incredible amount of usage, right?
Arrow is it's a low-level technology because it's a format, and typically what ends up happening is if you're not one of the people building the tools or building the libraries, you don't really interact with it directly. If you're using pandas, you've got Arrow because pandas has a PyArrow backend. If you're using Polars is built entirely on top of Arrow. DuckDB's internal memory representation is nearly identical to Arrow. Velox, Arrow is used for the interoperability with Spark. Spark Connect, the new Spark Connect stuff that came out. The protocol on how it sends the data, the batches of data through Spark Connect is Arrow. So Arrow is very ubiquitous everywhere, and yet very few people actually know about it because you only really interact with it directly if you're at the level that you're building the tools and the utilities and the systems.
And so the other really fascinating part to me is that Arrow is a tabular data format, and tabular data has been around for, well, maybe already the Babylonians organized their stuff like that. I don't know. I'm not a historian, but I would guess so. And suddenly, 10 years ago, there's a new technology that pops up that somehow finds a niche in that crowded space, which already, is full of relational database technologies for decades and so on.
It came out of the Hadoop ecosystem. Because you basically, around that time, you have Wes McKinney is one of the co-creators of Arrow. He was the creator of Pandas. And out of the Hadoop ecosystem, you realize that once everything was going all service oriented and cloud based, you end up in this case where as you're passing data from system to system, node to node, you're spending 80 to 90% of your CPU time is just serializing and deserializing the data as it moves in and out of all these nodes and systems. And so there was a significant benefit to an idea like Arrow, where the format in memory is identical to the format on the wire, and you avoid that serialization, deserialization overhead, and you can get this kind of zero copy communication and interoperability. But it's only going to be like that if the format's also efficient to operate on. You can't, because otherwise people are just going to convert it to something else anyways. So you needed to have a format, a memory layout format that was convenient and efficient to operate on, but you can communicate it without having to serialize it. And that's kind of where Arrow came as being a column oriented in memory format. Because typically, historically, the actual memory representation was always row oriented. Think of struct of arrays versus an array of structs. You laid out the memory of tabular data where you did row by row, because that's just how it worked. But with all of the new things with SIMD, vectorization of CPU computes, stuff like that, and you have the rise of OLAP and analytics data systems. All of those OLAP data systems are using column-oriented memory because of all the benefits of vectorization and SIMD. And so having something like Arrow lets them have this advantage that you can get performance and zero copy and communication and avoid extra copies and conversions and transforms.
Right. Yeah, thanks, Matt. I think it's a super fascinating technology, and I find it very interesting to see that even after decades of being in a space, just changes in the available technology and how systems are set up can completely reorganize, what's actually needed now. And so, yeah, looking forward to the Aero Summit tomorrow.
I am.
And
Yep.
I think, could you say a little bit about Columnar?
Yeah,
Columnar, I
sure.
think is
So Columnar startup, we started in April. Currently, we've got the 3 co-founders and we've got 1 hire. But so we're focused on using data connectivity, leveraging Apache Arrow, specifically leveraging the ADBC Arrow Database Connectivity Protocol. Well, more like API. If you think like ODBC and JDBC, those are decades old technologies that are still the standard for how you communicate with databases, but they're also row oriented systems. And so ADBC is this open source API that's part of the Arrow ecosystem that gives you a similar idea of a single API that you can communicate with databases, but it's all Arrow data format interactions. So you get to have this column oriented memory so that your column oriented analytics data systems can keep the data in column oriented memory as they go back, and you get 10, 20 times speed ups by avoiding those conversions. And so Columnar is focused on, improving all of that connectivity with data sources and data systems, and improving the leveraging of ADBC, building out drivers for new systems and tooling and utilities to make it just a better developer experience to leverage ADBC. Right now, our big focus is to really get more adoption of ADBC. It's being adopted by a lot, like Snowflake's Power BI, Microsoft Power BI's new Snowflake connector is powered just the Snowflake ADBC driver, which is all open source. And so getting it more ubiquitous, getting more usage, getting more vendors to adopt Arrow output and ADBC drivers and helping build the drivers. So that kind of thing is where we're focusing right now. But in the future, we're going to branch out more for, just making the actual connectivity easier and more performant through Arrow interactions.
great. Thanks, Matt. Um, Great to have you here.
Thank you. It's great to have you here.
Enjoy the Aero Summit tomorrow. I will enjoy it as well.
Looking forward to it.
And yeah, see you around.
See ya. Thank you.